Okay, so um, hello guys. My name is Samuel Patton, and I'll be taking you to AJAX. So AJAX is a very fantastic technology that has been around for a while, not too long a while. But what does AJAX simply mean? AJAX means asynchronous JavaScript and XML. So it's simply a client-side script, as I've written here, or a method of exchanging data with a server and updating parts of a web page without reloading the entire page. So if you've ever used a website where you had parts of the web page updating, let's say a chat forum where you had messages coming in without you having to reload the whole page, they might be implementing some form of AJAX or AJAX core. And AJAX was really important because in the old HTTP, the old form of the old ways of building websites, or in let me say the olden days, not too olden days, but um, web pages were very static, as they've always been. They've always been static. It's only recently that they became very dynamic. But if we needed new information, we had to refresh the whole page, which was very costly because we might just need to update a little portion on a page, but then we'll have to do a full browser or full page reload to get that updated information. So that's what brought up the development of AJAX. So why why isn't it something like asynchronous reloading or something? Well, the main technology that is used to implement this is JavaScript. Since JavaScript works on the client side, yes, so the client is able to make requests to the server in the background. And what happens is that normally there is a data exchange format. So the client goes to the background and asks for extra data in a very simple format, and just comes and updates the main page with the new information without completely reloading. So enough talk. I'll just dive into some code or something, and we'll see how we implement it. So we are going to actually, in this tutorial, we are going to build a login page, right? We are going to use an AJAX call to contact our server, and basically our login page is going to take a name and a password, and we are going to say that if the name and the password, or if the name and the password are not supplied, we can't log in, right? So it's a simple login script. We are not going to do anything serious, just for demonstration purposes. So in this tutorial, I'm using XAMPP server, as you can see here. I'm using XAMPP server because our backend script is going to be written in PHP. So I'm using XAMPP server, and I'm using git bash as my command line too. But you can use whatever command line too. I just prefer to use git bash. You can use cmd, PowerShell, or whatever on whatever operating system you are using. But I prefer to use git bash. It's not so different, but if you want to get git bash, you can go to git-scm.org to get it. And for example, a quick Google search will give you the XAMPP page. Will give you a link to the XAMPP page. And also for my text editor, I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to use git bash to create a new folder in my XAMPP directory. So I have C XAMPP. htdocs is where all the server files are stored, and I have a special folder called JS for JavaScript projects, since we are doing AJAX. So I'm going to create a new directory called AJAX. Make dir AJAX, and I'm going to cd into that directory, and then I'm going to open it up with Visual Studio Code. Okay, so waiting for that to start up. So when our text editor opens, we are going to create a few boilerplate files. We are going to create an index.js file, which is going to house all our AJAX functions. We are going to create an index.html, which is going to be our main view, and then we are going to create our login script, our pseudo login script, which is just going to maybe return a 1 if everything is okay, or a 0 if everything is not okay. So I'll create my index.html, and I'll go ahead and create index.js, and then login.php. So for our styling and everything, we've already defined where we are going to place our JavaScript, our backend. But for our styling, we are going to use Bootstrap. I'll be using Bootstrap to just do some basic styling, and I'll be using Bootstrap 4. I think that's what I have, so I'm just going to get Bootstrap 4 from somewhere. So just hold on while I look for Bootstrap 4 from one of my folders. So yes, this is a Bootstrap 4 CSS, which we'll use for our styling so that we do everything quickly. So JS, AJAX, and paste it here. So let's create our boilerplates for our index. So since I'm using Visual Studio Code, I can just use an exclamation mark, and I'll press my tab key. Yes, so I'll use an exclamation mark, press my tab key, and it's going to give me an HTML page boilerplate. So there we have it. I'm going to change my title to login page, and I'm going to import my CSS. So we'll say link tag and tab. Now I'm using Visual Studio Code, and one of the wonderful things about Visual Studio Code is that it has Emmet plugin pre-installed. So the Emmet plugin allows us to do very cool code completion or markup completion, as you can see me doing with my tab key. So that is what I'm using. So it just generates everything for me so that I don't make any mistakes. So I just have to supply my href, which is bootstrap.main.css, typo there, and save it. And then in my body, I'm going to import my index.js. So I'm going to say type is equal to text text/javascript. Now see src is equal to index.js, and please remember to add the type, otherwise your code won't run in your front end. So I have a typo here, JavaScript. Yes, so let's just create a simple login form. So since I'm using Bootstrap, I'm going to say I'm going to create a row, and then inside the row I'm going to create a column mid 6 I'm creating divs. That's what I'm doing. 3 tab, and then inside I'm going to say card. I'm going to create another div, card header, and then I'm going to create another one called card footer. So if I'm right, all these are pre-installed classes in Bootstrap 4. So I'll just check that out from a previous tutorial so that I know that I am set. So this is the previous tutorial, so I can see card header, card body, Okay, so card header, card body. So card header, card body, card body. So and then inside my card header, I'm going to say I'm just going to put an H3 and say login. Login to site or just login. Your login is fine. And then inside my card body, I'm going to put two inputs. So input text. I'm going to give it a name of name, and I'm going to create another input right below it, and I'm going to say password. I'm going to give it a name of password. I'm going to give it a class of form control since we are using Bootstrap, so that it gives it a nice Bootstrap style. So I'll copy this over and paste it here and save it. And I'm going to place all this in a form since we are going to submit these two. So I'll say form, and then I'm going to give it a class of form group, which is for Bootstrap. So let's open our site in our browser and see how it looks like. So we have localhost slash js slash ajax. Okay, so my XAMPP server software is not on. It's not set up. So I just have to come to XAMPP control panel, and then whilst I'm waiting for it to start, yes, so I start Apache server, and I think that'll be all for now. I just need to start Apache server and then reload it, and let's wait and see whether it works. So yeah, we have our very ugly our very ugly login form. So we'll just style it a bit. So I guess I'll put all this in a container and let's see what will happen. Okay, so that's cool a bit. So all this is in a container, and card, let me check that old example. So card header, card body, and card header, card body. Let me check whether I'm using Bootstrap 4. Yeah, I'm using Bootstrap 4. So what's wrong? Yeah. So I really can't see how different ours is from what is there. So you know what? I'm going to keep all this in an external container. I think that would do. So just shift this forward and container, container. Yes, and then I'll bring the closing tag down here and save. And let's reload and see what happens. Okay, it doesn't change much. Wow. Let's give it a bit of a margin top. So in my head, I'm going to add some style. So style tag, and I'm going to say margin 50. I'm going to give that a margin top of 50, so that anything that has margin 50 will have a margin top of 50 pixels. Yeah. So let me just give this a margin 50 and save it, and okay. But I still don't get why there's no padding. I also have to revise my bootstrap. So all this is in a container, yes. So why isn't it working? Okay. Yeah. Um. Sorry for the hitch up. I have to go and revise my web design. I really have to go and revise my web design. Okay. So I have card body. I have card header. All in the card. Yes. So what is wrong? Ah. Oh. No. That's not a problem. So card. Card header. Card body. So you know what? We are just going to style it ourselves. You are going to see that our card should have a pattern of 10 pixels on all sides, and we reload it, and okay, that doesn't work too well. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to copy everything here. I'm going to pick the parts that we need, and I'm going to paste it because I don't have time to be, yes. So card body, but it isn't working. It isn't working. Okay. I think I see what's wrong. Let me see. So I am using the old Bootstrap 4 Alpha, right? So I think these classes were not in the Bootstrap 4 Alpha. So I'm going to use the Bootstrap 4 Beta link. Yes, so this is it. And then I'm going to paste it here. And I'm going to take this out. Bye bye. And save it. And then okay. So let me just revert back to the old, yes, our plain old form, our good old form. And I'm going to paste the new link here, and then we'll see what will happen. So hopefully it should work. So reload. Okay, we are not connected, so don't worry, this is my school Wi-Fi. So reload, and bam, there is it. There it is. Sorry. So what is happening? Okay, so I mistakenly tried to save the page. Yeah. So let's add a submit button, right, in our form. So we are going to say button. We should have used emit for that. Okay, so button. I'm going to say login, and I'm going to say yeah, login, and then class of button primary, button Yeah, I think button primary is okay. So yeah, and then we're just going to add a bit of some padding to the form. So we say that in our form, we'll just say padding 10 pixels or something like that. Okay, it didn't really work. Wrong selector choice. Wrong rules. So uh, I'm just going to say that um, everything in our form have margin top of 10 pixels. Okay, still not working. What am I missing? Okay, so let's go back to our old. So I'm going to say that. Okay, I'm going to give. Whoa, my mouse is stuck. This is weird. This is very weird. What is happening to me today? Okay, so the mouse is back, and I think I need to use an external mouse next time. Okay, so I'm going to say that our inputs should have a margin top of 10 pixels. Yes, small error over here. So let's save it and reload, and wow, nothing is changing. Margin top of 10 pixels. Whoa, see me. Yeah, so that's okay. Or let me make it a margin bottom so that, yeah, so that's better. That's it. And then, so we are done with our simple login UI for the var. And then we'll say that, yes. So now let's go to our index.js, or let's rather go to our login.php. So it's a very simple login script which is going to check what we submitted via our form, and it's going to say if we have data from our form, that means yes, we logged in. If we don't have data, we didn't log in. So it's going to send a message back for us to pass and display on our page. So I'm going to say that if is empty, if empty, and I'm going to say that if what is empty, if our post name, so our name is stored in our super global variable post, that's the post data name, and we are using name because in our index we give name a name of name, right? Every pun intended. And then empty, so you're going to put an or operator here, and my keyboard doesn't have or, so I'm going to use on screen keyboard to show my or to insert my or. So hold on a bit, my PC is slowing down. I have to throw it away very soon. Yeah, so I'm going to say that and if our post, if our name is empty, so if the name submitted from the post data is empty, and if the password submitted 2s from our post data is empty, that means you are going to echo 0, meaning that you didn't submit any data, so you can't log in. Otherwise, you are going to echo 1, meaning that yes, you did well. So this is our basic scripts, and then I'm waiting for on-screen keyboard to come so that I add the or. Yes, so on screen keyboard is here. Sorry for the delay. So, or I'm going to save this, and then our login script is done. So this, I'll say this is our sudo login script. Yeah. So we'll close that, and then we'll go to our most important part. That's index.js. So let me just open index.html at the side so that we can see as you are working with it, because you are going to be working with stuff from here. So we are going to say that the first thing we are going to do is that with AJAX we are submitting data to the server, or we are making requests asynchronously. So what happens in HTML is that when you use a form element and you submit the form, or you click the button in the form. So let's go there and click the button in the form. You see that the page reloads and it submits the data from the form. So that's why we have the query variable name equals admin and password equals admin. So when you click the button, any button or any input with the type button in the form, it submits the form. Now when we submit the form, it's going to refresh the page, and we don't want that because we are going to use AJAX. So we are going to use JavaScript to prevent that submission. So we are going to use a function to get the objects, the button objects in the HTML, and we are going to say that when we click on this button object using JavaScript, do not do anything. So I'm going to say var submit, or var submit button is equal to document.get element by ID, and we are going to give it, so we will give our button an ID so that we can get our button object in JavaScript. So we are going to say submit button. Yes, so we save that here. We're also going to give our input type an ID of password field. We're also going to give our name, we are going to give it an ID of name field. We'll save that. So we say that we'll use that later, but right now we say that document.get element by ID. We are going to get our submit button, and then we are going to say that, right, we are going to add an event listener. So submit button dot add event listener. I'm going to say that we're adding the click event listener. So we're going to say that when the submit button is clicked, we should do something, right? So we are passing our callback function. We are going to call this callback function make AJAX call, right? And then below we are going to define make AJAX call. So make AJAX call is going to take an event parameter, and I'll tell you why it takes an event parameter first. So we are going to say that, as we said before, we don't want our form to submit when we click on the button. So every time we do things like we click a button, we hover over something, the browser using JavaScript is able to capture those events. The browser is able to capture those events, and JavaScript is able to also read the browser capturing those events. And so basically, when we click, right, we said we are adding an event listener, click, and then what happens is that this event listener function is going to pass the event that happened. So if this event happens, it's going to pass the event object into this callback function. So if a click event happens, it's going to pass the click event and all its properties and everything. So if I click on something, it's going to pass what was clicked on, when it was clicked, all that information into this callback function so that we can work with it. So we are going to say that if someone clicks, we are going to say that event.prevent default. So what this will do is that it will prevent the default action of the form being clicked on. So clicking on this button has a default action of submitting and reloading a page. So we want to prevent that default action, right? Okay, so let's save that and come to our browser, reload. Let's clear this and reload, and then let's click. We see that nothing happens, it doesn't submit the form, right? So we've been able to prevent that. So once we be able to prevent this, then we will make our AJAX calls and everything under. We are now coming to the AJAX itself. So how do we make an AJAX call? How do we make an AJAX call? We can use traditional JavaScript, or we can use jQuery, or any JS library or framework which has the functionality to do AJAX calls. So making an AJAX call is quite straightforward. We create an object known as an XML HTTP request. So we have to instantiate that object first. So we are going to instantiate it and store it in a variable called XHR. And then we are going to first call an open function on the XHR object, which takes three parameters or three arguments. So the first argument is the method of submission of the data. So we want to do post because in our login script we are checking for post data. The second one is the URL, as we have here. So we are going to say that it's stored in our login script is stored in the same directory, that's JS AJAX, right? But since you are using XAMPP server, it will become localhost JS AJAX like we have in our browser here. So we are going to navigate to localhost JS AJAX login, right? So that is our URL, localhost AJAX, localhost JS AJAX login.php. And our last parameter, we are going to say true, right? So if you can see, Visual Studio Code is giving us information about this open method on the XHR object. It says that the first one is the method, which is a string. The second one is the URL, and the last one is whether it should be asynchronous. So since we are doing AJAX, yes, we want it to be asynchronous, so we say true. Yeah. So then we'll say xhr dot send, right? So this is a basic AJAX call. We create a new XML HTTP request and we open the requests and then we send it, right? But before we send, we have to, we can't just send the request like that because we need to send the data from the forms. So the data from the forms should be passed in this send method, right? So the data here, as we have it, so the data from the form should be passed in send. So we are going to gather that data using JavaScript. So we are going to say that var name field is equal to documents dot get element by id, and we are going to say name field. We are going to do the same for password field, documents dot get element by id password field, and then we're going to say that what the value stored in the name field, right? That's what we want, but we just get the name field for now. So we are going to create a data object, a data a data string, right? A data string that is going to be passed in send, just like the string we saw here first when we were making the get request. When we clicked login and it was refreshing, a similar kind of string. we are going to say that our data, right? Our data is equal to a string which has name equals to, we are going to concatenate a few things. I'm going to say name equals to name field dot value, right? And we are going to add it to password equals password field dot value, right? So I'm just going to do some console logs so that we see everything. So now let's just comment all these out. Let's just comment all these out. We are going to see console.log data, right? So when we submit our form, it's going to run this function and it's going to create the data string and console log it. So let's see. So how I'm going to see this now, I'm going to open inspect and go to console. I'm going to go to console and then I'm going to click this. So we have to refresh the page first so that we get a new code. So yeah, I'm going to click this and it's console logs my string for me. So I have name equals admin and password equals admin. So this is the correct format for the query string. It's just like we saw it in the URL when we could refresh our page with a login button, or when we clicked our login button. So our data string is correct, so we are going to remove these comment lines, and then if you are using Visual Studio Code, commenting and uncommenting is done using Shift Alt A. Yeah, so you can toggle the comments with that. So I'm going to take this console log data, or I think I'll just leave it for now. So I'll create a comment data to be sent, right? So some formatting. So I create my new XML HTTP request. I open the connection and then I send my data, right? And I save this. Yeah. So this is the simplest way of making an AJAX call. So we are actually done with the AJAX call, right? But when we make the AJAX call, right, we can't just make the AJAX call and just be there. We want to be able to do something with the data that will be sent back. Remember, our backend script is sending a 0 or 1 based on our information, whether our information is set. So we want to be able to handle that information coming from the back end. So we are going to define a certain function or a certain method on the XHR object called onload. So we're going to say onload is equal to function, right? So everything in onload runs after the XHR or our XML HTTP request or AJAX request has been sent and we've got a response. Then it runs everything in the onload function. So what are we going to do? We are going to say that um we are going to so when our response comes back, it sets various attributes on the XHR object. So one of the attributes that are set is response text. So response text is actually storing whatever is sent back. So the 0 or 1 that we are sending from our login script is going to be stored in response text. So we are going to write a small if else block to just use that information. We are going to say if xhr dot response text, right, is equal to 1, we are going to say console.log signed in, right, signed in. Otherwise we'll see console.log could not sign in, could not sign in. So let's just test that out, and then so we reload our page, and then we have let's try with empty fields first. So we know that it's working. So we click login. Our name and password string is this. You can see that no name was submitted, no password was submitted, and it returns 404 not found. Okay, so that's an error because you can see that the URL is not correct. It repeats itself. So let's go back and let's make this HTTP. Yes, just like that. So go back, refresh the page. Let's remove this, or let's just remove admin. Okay, let's remove both. Login, and then it returns after a while could not sign in. So we can see, let's add a name and password. Click login. Still giving us could not sign in, which is a problem, right? So one thing with PHP and AJAX is that when we are sending post data, we have to add a header, right, to this XHR request that is going. So we are going to add a header. We are going to set the header using this function, set request header, and we are going to see content type. We are going to give it an application x form URL encoded, right? So this is going to make sure that our PHP script sees that our post, whatever we are sending is post data. So we save that and go to our browser and refresh. Right, login, could not sign in still. So I guess there's something wrong with how I set the request header. So let me just check something. So okay, so this is a little secret. The truth is that I actually practiced before I did this tutorial, so I have to just go back and refresh my memory small. So sorry for the deception. Sorry for the deception. So we have here, yes, so we have the original. So I'll copy this line, and then so we have to set our request header to application slash x www dash form URL encoded. So it's going to encode everything and send it so that it reaches the server as a safe post data object. So refresh this, login, signed in. That is it, as we wanted it. We're going to try without parameters. Could not sign in. Amazing. Let's try only one field. Could not sign in. That is it. Could not sign in. So that is it. That is it. Our AJAX form is virtually done. It's virtually done. So this is how AJAX works at the core. This is how it works. But since we are doing web design, web development, we are not going to be using the console because majority of our users don't ever come into contact with the console. So we are going to style this login form so that it handles our AJAX requests very nicely. So we are going to create a loading icon, and we'll do that shortly.